DCOM Presentation, Justice Day, St. Martin, Church Service and Parade 2026. KPSM apprehends suspect in connection with Justice Day Front Street robbery. French Parliament approves definitive border agreement between Dutch and French St. Martin. Barbados cricket legend Sir Garfield Sobers dies at 89. From the island of St. Martin, this is SXM Daily News for July 20th, 2026. Minister of Justice Natalie Tackling. Because in our line of work, stillness is a rare gift. There's something right about beginning Justice Day here in church, because before justice is ever written into law, it is rooted in what we believe. Before our institutions carry this out, it begins with a person. Someone who quietly decides to do what is right when no one is watching. The world marks July 17th, 2026 as International Justice Day, a day for the rule of law and the big principles. And those principles matter. But here, on this island today, is something more special. Because justice on St. Martin is not an abstraction, it is deeply, unavoidably personal.
Well, before I say anything else, I'd like to ask everybody to do something that we often don't allow ourselves to do. Let's be still for a moment. No phones, there's no advices on our desks, there's no decisions right now that can't wait 5 minutes. Just this room and one another, and this morning that we've been given. Thank you. Because in our line of work, stillness is a rare gift. There's something right about beginning Justice Day here in church. Because before justice is ever written into law, it is rooted in what we believe. Before it is carried out by our institutions, it begins with a person. Someone who quietly decides to do what is right when no one is watching. The world marks July 17th as International Justice Day, a day for the rule of law, for the big principles. And those principles matter. But here, on this island, today is something more special. Because justice on St. Martin is not an abstraction. It is deeply, unavoidably personal. Think of what it actually means to serve justice in this small place. When you put on that uniform here, you're not policing strangers. You are policing people that you know. The officer who answers the call often knows the family at the door. The prosecutor sees the defendant's mother at the supermarket on Saturday. On 37 square miles, there's no anonymous distance between the person enforcing the law and the person that is subject to it. To do this work with fairness, day after day, among your own people, that is a weight that most of the world will never understand. And everyone in this room carries it with grace. We saw that weight most clearly in our hardest hour. Many of us still remember September 2017. No power, roofs torn from half the island, the world we knew turned upside down in a single night. And in that chaos, the uniforms still showed up. Officers who had lost their homes still reported for duty. That is not in any job description. That is character. And we do this on an island unlike any in the kingdom, a single piece of land shared under two flags, where justice means working hand in hand with our neighbors from the French side, who are lovely and wonderfully here with us today. Ours is a small chain doing an enormous job. Police, immigration, customs, Coast Guard, prison officers, dispatchers, prosecutors, civil servants, a handful of people carrying a responsibility that larger nations spread across hundreds. So when the work gets done, it's not because we have the numbers on our side. It is because of our people. And to every one of you in that chain, thank you. Thank you for the long hours, for the birthdays and the dinners that you have missed, for the quiet commitment that no one applauds. Public service here is rarely easy. There are days that test your patience, your resilience, your resolve. Days when the work asks everything of you and the appreciation for that work is non-existent. And still, you show up. You always show up. Over the past year and a half, I have had the privilege of working alongside you and of listening, really listening, to the reality of your work as you actually live it. And I will not stand here and pretend that that reality is simple. Our people are stretched. Our resources are tested. There are challenges in this justice chain that everyone in this room already knows very well. And naming them is not weakness. It is the beginning of honesty. And honesty is where real progress starts. Because that listening left me with a responsibility that I don't take lightly. It is not enough for us as leaders to ask for your very best. We have to earn it by building the conditions and providing the support that lets you do your work safely, effectively, and with pride. Our institutions are only ever as strong as the people inside them. We can renovate a building, we can modernize a system, we can upgrade the technology, but integrity, compassion, professionalism, courage, that is the real foundation of justice. And that does not come from a budget line, it comes from you. Today is also a reminder that justice belongs to all of us, as the pastor also said. Not only in the courtroom, not only to the person in the uniform. It shows up in the small choices that we each make, in honesty, in how we treat one another, in taking responsibility when it would be easier not to. Justice here, in the end, is a simple thing. Whether my neighbor feels safe walking home, whether people feel safe in this country to do business, whether a child born on this island inherits a country that is worth trusting. And every one of us has a part in that. And if there's one thing that this island has proven, storm after storm, it is that we rebuild every single time. Because our strength was never in our buildings, it was always in our people. So as we mark this Justice Day, let us leave here with renewed appreciation for those who serve and a renewed hold on the values that bind us. Let us lead with fairness, serve with humility, and meet every responsibility with compassion and integrity. And may God continue to bless each of you, your families, the work of our justice institutions, and our beloved St. Martin.
The St. Martin Police Force, KPSM, wishes to inform the public that today, Sunday, July 19th, at approximately 2:35 p.m., detectives apprehended a suspect believed to be involved in the Justice Day armed robbery that occurred on Front Street on Friday, July 17th, 2026. The suspect has been taken into police custody and will be processed pending further investigation. The investigation into this incident remains active and ongoing. Detectives continue to pursue all available leads, and additional arrests have not been ruled out. KPSM remains steadfast in its commitment to maintaining law and order throughout St. Martin. We want to send a clear and unequivocal message to those who choose to engage in criminal activity. If you commit crimes, KPSM will relentlessly investigate, identify, apprehend, and seek your prosecution. Criminal acts will not be tolerated, and those responsible will be held accountable for their actions. The Ministry of Justice wishes to inform the public of a temporary delay affecting the processing of certain permit applications while efforts are underway to resolve the matter. As part of our ongoing effort to modernize and improve our services, Immigration and Border Protection Service, IBPS, recently transitioned to a new online application portal. During this transition, the migration of existing records required additional time to complete securely and accurately. As a result, some applications submitted before the switch have experienced longer than usual processing times. We want to assure applicants and the public that this is a temporary situation. Efforts are underway to restore normal processing as quickly as possible, and new applications submitted through the online portal continue to be received and processed as usual. We recognize the impact these delays may have on applicants and their families, and we take that responsibility seriously. We are actively evaluating additional measures to address any backlog and to expedite affected applications as quickly as possible. We appreciate the public's patience and understanding as we complete this transition, and we remain fully committed to delivering timely, reliable service. The Ministry of Justice and the Immigration and Border Protection Service, IBPS, will continue to keep the public informed and provide additional updates as more information becomes available.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, Melissa Gums on the Emancipation Day address. We got it today on the secret side. They are plantations, where once our ancestors worked in the factories, where others worked in the main house, whose rooms received just there. When mothers comforted each other in the back, their children separated from their hips by circumstance and economics. This July 1st, 2026, we sit with ISAT, we walk with a toil, and our energy joins theirs as we mark Emancipation Day under the theme Bust the Chain.
Where once our ancestors worked sugar factories, where others worked in the main house, whose ruins we see just there, where mothers comforted each other in the dark, their children separated from their hip by circumstance and economics. This July 1st, we sit where they sat, we walk where they toiled, and our energy joins theirs as we mark Emancipation Day under the theme, Bust the Chain and Free Your blank. I know this theme may have raised some questions. The first part is straightforward. Actual chains were broken on Emancipation Day. Shackles fell from wrists and feet. Bodies that had been kidnapped and sold were by law no longer property of another human being. But then the theme continues. We don't stop at the physical chains that once bound limbs. We chose to ask a harder question. Bust the chain and free your what? It is our invitation to the people, to you, to decide what freedom, what emancipation means to you, and what it should mean to us. Will we free our minds, our voices? Will we free our vision of who we are and what we, and by extension, generations after us, are permitted to become? I ask these questions because our ancestors understood something that many struggle with today, that a person can be legally free and still be captive, that they can still be told in 1,000 quiet ways what they cannot do, cannot say, and cannot dream. All of it stemming from what those same ancestors experienced right here on these grounds. And so much of it continued and held up by many who have stood where I stand today, many who have sat in the same building I sit in every day. Audre Lorde says, master's tools will never dismantle master's house. But do we know what master's tools are? Do we know who master is? Because it's not just whips and chains that held the persons we honor today as captives. Oppression is never accomplished through physical acts alone. It requires an entire ecosystem around it, one rooted in the corruption of community, in the othering of people, in the promotion of the self over the whole. Each time we fall victim to the support systems of colonialism, each time we excuse our shortcomings and refuse to be better, each time we choose self over community, we are still building inside of master's house. Real freedom asks us to pick up our own tools, our own stories, our own plans for what St. Martin becomes, not what any investor demands. I am my ancestors' wildest dream is a quote I have always admired, and one that I want us all to consider each and every day that we decide to actually commit ourselves to our country's healing. Notice I didn't say growth. We have grown, some would argue, way beyond what we can hold. But healing, improvement, is what we need now. And while she is not the originator of this quote, I believe Maya Angelou embodied it best when she wrote about rising, of being the dream and the hope of those who came before her. The dream they could not yet touch, but one they held within them, where no whip could reach. When imagination was the only freedom they had, we are what they imagined. It is what we have inherited. What does this inheritance, this birthright, ask of us today? It asks that we finish the work of nation building, not just the buildings, the roads, the harbor, although we need those too. It asks us to build schools that teach our children their own history first, that allow them to learn as children do, by letting them dream and dream big as our ancestors once did, right here on this land. It asks that we build an economy that is dynamic, innovative, and not reliant on the same old sea, sun, and sand, one that taps into our diaspora and helps them build a country that housed, clothed, and fed them before sending them into the world. It asks that we say no to exploitation disguised as opportunity, to invasion disguised as investment, and to forces, both foreign and domestic, that only threaten disharmony among us, locally and regionally. It demands that we build a community that is confident enough to define beauty, success, and leadership on our own terms, with our own hands. Because emancipation was never meant to be remembered as a date. It was meant to become a way of living. A choice we make every day to reject division, to reject complacency, to reject mediocrity, to reject the belief that someone else will build this country for us. Our ancestors broke chains they did not choose. The chains before us are different. They are fear, cynicism, corruption, hatred, keyboard warriors, motions of no confidence, small-mindedness, the belief that St. Martin cannot become more than it is today. Those are the chains only we can break. So today, as we honor those who came before us, let us also make a promise to those who will come after us, that we will leave them a country stronger than the one we inherited, a country that remembers where it came from, knows who it is, and refuses to let any bad actors, foreign or domestic, decide where it is going. May we honor our ancestors not only with our words today, but with the choices we make tomorrow. Because the greatest tribute we can offer them is not simply remembering their struggle, but continuing their work. So today I leave you with the same question we began with. Bust the chain and free your what? Whatever your answer is, make sure you live it each and every day. Happy Emancipation Day, St. Martin. May we continue to rise together.
Also addressed on the Emancipation Day, Prime Minister of General Affairs, Dr. Luc Mercelina.
To commemorate Emancipation Day and to mark, as he said, 163 years since the abolition of slavery in the Dutch kingdom. We gather not only to remember a date in history, but to honor a people, actually honor our people. We honor the men, the women, and children whose lives were marked by hardship, whose freedom was denied, and whose humanity was too often disregarded. Yet, despite every attempt to break their spirit, they endured, they persevered, and they survived. And because they survived, we are here today. The story of emancipation is not merely a chapter in a history book. It is the foundation of who we are as a people. It lives in our culture, in our tradition, in our resilience, our faith, and in the determination that has carried generations of St. Martin through every challenge. As we stand here at Belvedere Plantation, one of the most significant historical sites on our island, we are reminded that history is not something distant. It surrounds us, it speaks to us, it calls upon us to remember, to learn, and to ensure that the sacrifices of our ancestors are never forgotten. This year's theme, as has many times already been said, bust the chain and free. I think it should be free your mind. Invites us to reflect not only on the chains that were broken in 1863, but also on the chains that may still exist today. The chains of inequality, the chains of prejudice and discrimination, the chains of hopelessness and division, the chains that prevent individuals from reaching their full potential, the chains that were broken in 1863 were made of iron. The chains we must break today are often invisible, but they are not less real. True emancipation is not simply about the freedom that was granted. It's about the opportunities we create ourselves. It's about ensuring that every child has access to quality education, that every family has a chance to prosper, that every citizen is treated with dignity, and that every person can contribute meaningfully to the development of our St. Martin. Our ancestors dreamed of a future they would never see. They labored, they struggled, and sacrificed so that the future generation could live with greater freedom and opportunity. The question before us today is very simple. What are we doing with the freedom they fought to secure? Are we building stronger communities? Are we lifting each other up? Are we preserving our culture and heritage? Are we creating opportunities for our youth? Are we leaving behind a better St. Martin than the one we inherited? These are the questions that an Emancipation Day asks of every generation. As Prime Minister, I firmly believe that the greatest tribute we can pay to those who came before us is to continue building a country where opportunity is not reserved for a few, but accessible to all. A country where diversity is celebrated, where inclusion is practiced, and where every person feels they belong. To our young people gathered here today, I encourage you to learn your history and take pride in your heritage. Understand that you are the descendant of resilient people who overcome extraordinary adversity. Their strength follows through you. Their courage lives within you. Their legacy is now yours to carry forward. And to all of us, let this day serve as a reminder that freedom is never passive. It requires responsibility. It requires unity. It requires a commitment to justice, respect, and compassion for one another. Today we honor the memory of those who endured slavery. We celebrate the strength of those who overcame it, and we recommit ourselves to building a future worthy of their sacrifice. Let us continue to break every chain that divides us. Let us continue to free ourselves from the barriers that limit us. And let us move forward together as we remain united in purpose, proud of our history, and confident in our future. May the spirit of emancipation continue to inspire our nation. May we never forget the lessons of our past, and may God continue to bless the people and country of St. Martin. Thank you very much, and a happy Emancipation Day.
Paris. The French Parliament has approved the agreement that formally establishes the border between Dutch Sint Maarten and French Saint-Martin, ending centuries of uncertainty surrounding the exact boundary between the two territories. The border issue dates back to the 1648 Treaty of Concordia, which divided the island between the Netherlands and France. However, the original agreement left room for interpretation, leading to repeated disputes between the two countries over the centuries. One of the more recent conflicts occurred in 2016, when French gendarmes entered a Dutch restaurant in Oyster Pond to halt renovation work, claiming that the construction lacked the required permits. The incident led to diplomatic protests from the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Following pressure from the Dutch Parliament, France was invited to formally establish the border through a new treaty. However, negotiations progressed slowly. Eventually, the governments of the Netherlands and France signed an agreement on May 26, 2023, defining the border in detail across 348 specific points. With the approval by the French Parliament, France has completed its legislative process. The Netherlands has not yet finalized its approval procedure. The matter is still being prepared in writing in the Dutch Second Chamber. The issue has received limited political attention in the Netherlands, although one parliamentary faction recently submitted questions regarding the involvement of local stakeholders during the negotiations. Members of the PRO faction asked the Dutch government to explain how it maintained contact and coordination with residents and businesses directly affected by the Oyster Pond border dispute. Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs Berendsen still has to respond to the questions. After the summer recess, the treaty is expected to continue through the Dutch parliamentary process, first in the Second Chamber and afterward in the Senate. Once both countries complete their approval procedures, the new agreement will provide a legally defined border and greater certainty for residents, businesses, and authorities on both sides of the island.
Now for the weather forecast. Tonight through Tuesday midday, occasionally cloudy with scattered showers. Surface winds today through Tuesday midday, east to northeast, with a light to moderate breeze at 6 to 15 Martin state of the sea. Smooth to slight waves, swells 1 to 4 feet. Outlook through Wednesday midday, cloudy to partly cloudy with scattered showers. And now your 3-day forecast.
Savvy, your soul.
Asset V insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? Asset V is cardless. Request your My Asset V account today and enter the virtual office of Asset V. Go to assetv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social and health insurances.
It is summertime, and the St. Martin Library is sharing sunshine through storytime sessions with young learners in our community. During a recent session, M. Spencer read to the students of Denise House Daycare from the inspiring children's book written by Tabitha Brown, Hello There, Sunshine. The story introduces children to important life lessons about discovering their own inner light, practicing kindness, and spreading positivity wherever they go. It follows a young Tabitha who begins each day by greeting the sunshine, knowing that its warmth brings happiness and joy to those around her. When the sunshine disappears one day, she sets out on an adventure to find it. Along her journey, she helps members of her community and learns an important lesson. Sunshine is not only something we see in the sky, it is something we can create through love, kindness, compassion, and helping others. Through this inspiring story, students explored the message that everyone has the ability to be a source of light and encouragement for others. The session encouraged children to embrace kindness, share joy, and recognize the positive impact they can have within their families and communities. Following the reading, students participated in a fun and creative coloring activity that allowed them to express their understanding of the story. The experience continued with a short movie presentation and a lively rhyme time session, creating an interactive learning environment filled with laughter, creativity, and connection. The St. Martin Library continues to promote literacy, imagination, and meaningful learning experiences by bringing stories to life and inspiring young minds through the power of reading. The cricket world is mourning the death of Barbados national hero and legendary all-rounder Sir Garfield Sobers, who passed away on Friday at the age of 89. Sobers died at his home in Highgate Gardens, Barbados, just 11 days before his 90th birthday. His son, Daniel Sobers, said the cricket icon had been ill for some time, but remained strong until his final moments.
The bronze statue of the late Right Excellent Sir Garfield Sobers has become a national memorial ground as former teammates, government officials, and cricket fans are actively gathering at its base to lay floral tributes, paying their respects to the man widely considered the greatest cricketing all-rounder of all time, with members of the cricket legends of Barbados. It included Sir Wesley Hall and Sir Charlie Griffith, whose statues were unveiled in 2020 and 2024 respectively, forming a trio of Barbadian and West Indian juggernauts at the entrance of the region's Mecca. Also included in the procession from the Cricket Legends Museum at Herbert House were Joel Big Bird Garner and some of the former players of the modern era: Philo Wallace, Courtney Brown, Pedro Collins, Vasbert Drakes, Dwayne Smith, Fidel Edwards, and Tino Best. So Wes remembers the last time he visited Sir Gary at his home.
Only about, I reckon it's about nearly a year. My daughter and I, we went to see Sir Gary, and I felt so good for him. You know, he was, although he was sick, but then he had come out, you know, in the light. was really good. And I tell you something, his son came down and put up the thing there so that we could all see it. And then Sir Gary looked at the thing and he said, "Oh, what a shot! What a shot! Oh my God, Les, what a that shot!" I said, "Gary, there's you batting." He said, "Well," he couldn't believe it.
Meanwhile, former fast bowler Sir Charles Griffith said Sir Gary was multi-talented in every aspect.
I remember in 1960, we were playing, and Sir Frank Worrell said to us, "Well, you know, you all have to bowl nearly all day because they only got 4 bowlers." I said, "But skipper, you can't carry there. There's 4 bowlers in one. He can bowl fast, he can bowl off the dot, he can bowl any kind of thing he can bowl." And I said, "Well, the fact is he will have to take some of the load off of us."
And Joe Big Bird Garner remembers their time as ambassadors for Barbados.
I can say to you that being in his presence and being with him and watching him operate and watching him talk to people, he was different. You know, we don't appreciate what we have, but then when you look at it and you see and you hear the things that he's doing or he has done, I would say to you that people are going to write a lot about Sir Gary in superlatives. That's the best way of me to describe it. They'll write about him in superlatives.
Damien Best, CBC Sports.
This is our SXM Daily Newscast. Thank you for joining us.